Since the spawn of the stock market, two classes of people have been pitted against each other.
Eternal enemies forever forced and fated to combat.
Lions and hyenas.
These lions, these Wall Street hedge funds have it all. Billions of dollars, bailouts for reckless trades, these dirty fucking criminal bastards.
This last month, we've explored many sides of the financial world through the lens of cinema. Most, although not all of it, has been focused on stories surrounding people at the top in our society. Whether at least vaguely fictional characters like Gordon Gekko and Bud Fox in Oliver Stone's Wall Street, or in films like Wolf of Wall Street or The Big Short, these are stories about people within, or at least near, the top rungs of finance. Even as characters like Jordan Belfort or Steve Eisman and Michael Burry in The Big Short took on Wall Street, they did it from a position very close to Wall Street, or at least backed by people within Wall Street. The exception this month was in the squalid desperation of David Mamet's Glengarry Glen Ross. This week, we're ending Money Night Extravaganza on an underdog story without the squalid desperation or the backing of high finance. Craig Gillespie's 2023 biographical comedy, Dumb Money.
Smoking hot blonde asks them, like, how do you have so much money?
You know what they say? They say, dumb money, babe. Dumb money.
Dumb Money is a retelling of the moment in 2021 when a plucky group of online retail traders and Redditors decided to invest in GameStop, largely on the investing platform Robinhood, in order to break the short bets being done on everyone's favorite store in the mall that will buy your old video games by large investors. Yes, this time the people shorting things are the bad guys. Keep up, the market moves fast. Instead of doing a classic pump and dump, many of these investors decided to stick with, or hold the line, on the GameStop stock in order to do a short squeeze, showing that regular investors in the stock market could do something to fight back against the big hedge funds that generally dominate the market. Dumb Money is almost shot in the style of a pseudo-documentary. It has big actors like Paul Dano playing the main YouTuber and small-time investor, Roaring Kitty, who led the charge and got everyone from the Reddit community Wall Street Bets to hold, despite his 100,000 by the end of the squeezes, shares in GameStop. America Ferrera, Pete Davidson, Shailene Woodley, Sebastian Stan is the creepy, duplicitous CEO of Robinhood.
The idea for Robinhood really came out of the Occupy Wall Street movement. All those people with no way of getting in.
Is that what Occupy was about? I mean, were they trying to get in, or?
So we said it's not enough to occupy. We need to democratize Wall Street.
I'm not sure if you know this, but Beju and I are both immigrants. I was born in Bulgaria, and Beju's parents immigrated from India to the Deep South.
The investment platform that claimed to be attempting to democratize the stock market, even claiming that the platform was a literal attempt to occupy Wall Street, but was revealed to be colluding with Ken Griffin's Citadel, the massive hedge fund that was shorting GameStop. Nick Offerman plays Ken Griffin. Vincent D'Onofrio, aka Gomer Pyle, plays Mets owner and hedge fund manager Steve Cohen. And Seth Rogen plays the bumbling, hapless Gabe Plotkin, the founder of Melvin Capital. So huge names playing real-life characters. However, I'd call it a pseudo-documentary because the entire movie is spliced through with actual news footage and interviews, often just superimposing the actors, especially Sebastian Stan in one montage, onto real conversations that actually happened, and Paul Dano into congressional testimony from Roaring Kitty.
Videos. You honestly couldn't recount to the committee what caused every single up and down at the stock in January? I think you could.
I did follow the stock very closely, but thresholdless order flows, halting purchases, according to the press, these all had a material impact on the stock. Here's the thing, I have a bit of experience with this stuff, and even I barely understand these matters. It's alarming how little we all know about the inner workings of the market, which is why I'm glad this committee is examining what happened.
It's a pretty addictive David and Goliath story, as the promo for the movie, perhaps somewhat hyperbolically puts it, with average Reddit users and retail investors going up against some of the biggest institutional investors.
How much did we lose today?
$1 billion.
And yesterday?
$1 billion.
And in some ways, I mean, just look at the Robinhood pitch, is a pretty obvious self-inflicted wound. Shorting companies everyone really feels an attachment to is a good way to make yourself into a villain, and offering up a platform that will democratize the stock market, but is fully backed by institutional Wall Street money, is a pretty obvious way to ensure people eventually get pissed off. One interesting thing about the movie is how uncomfortable I think Hollywood assumes people are with Reddit. I mean, there's a big push within the movie to say, yes, it's a Reddit community, but not like that, which I think is fair, but Reddit is a social media platform like any other. It's not 4chan or anything anymore.
They call themselves apes and R-words? Retard? Can they say that?
Remarkably self-aware.
Craig Gillespie has taken on projects usually revolving around either complicated characters. He directed Margot Robbie's first produced project, I, Tonya, which also co-stars Sebastian Stan, or projects like Lars and the Real Girl. There's a certain amount of alienation and empathy in these choices that gets brought out in Dumb Money as well. We could talk about the role that the pandemic played in all of this.
It's kind of weird to talk to someone and see their whole face, right? It's been so long. I work at a hospital. You could probably tell.
Essential worker. Thank you for everything you do.
Oh, you're very welcome.
The year 2021 is one of limbo, where the COVID vaccine made it possible to live life again, but the pandemic still raged on. And throughout Dumb Money, there's a feeling that everyone is longing for community, which during the pandemic was found online. The free time that many of us wound up with, the alienation in general, and the uncertainty definitely led to a spark where sticking it to a Ken Griffin and the Wall Street elitism that he represents was something that people very much wanted to do. The subsection of people who decided to stick with Roaring Kitty, college students in debt, America Ferrera's single mother nurse, fed up with being called an essential worker but not treated like one, an actual GameStop employee, also considered an essential worker because GameStop essentially sold computer mice, and a vision of investing that's tinged with a bit of nostalgia and a nebulous form of online populism buoyed by memes and chicken tendies is definitely an interesting mix here. It's a mix of people who are both incredibly balkanized either by their age or their job, but also most in need of the money, and yet they hold. The film also manages to be pretty funny. Pete Davidson is here as Roaring Kitty's slacker brother who steals his car and joins the Reddit community just to talk shit about his brother.
It's one of many Warrens. This asshole thinks he's Jimmy Buffett now. Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett. See? You're not either of the Buffetts. Kitty. Your balls.
But also a bit of relatable tragedy. Their sister died from COVID months before the GameStop saga. It's a mix that makes for a family you definitely want to root for. Culminating in a Capra-esque surreal moment where Paul Dano, as Keith Gill, goes in front of the actual Congress, including AOC, first declaring, "I'm not a cat."
But before I do that, a few things I am not. I am not a cat. I am not an institutional investor.
It's like a kitty thing.
Hedge fund.
Of course, the real-life non-Nick Offerman Ken Griffin managed to lobby his way out of any penalty, even as Melvin Capital, the hedge fund he backed with loans, crumbled, for colluding with Robinhood and for the way the stock market is rigged, as Wall Street is wont to do. I think in the end, the film does struggle to come up with a point to all this. But maybe there really wasn't one. Rather than being a story of a war between institutional finance and retail traders, it's but one battle in an everlasting war. Roaring Kitty left public life with a YouTube channel as a monument to his glorious moments in the sun.
GameStop is one of the most compelling asymmetric opportunities in the market today. Really, I don't understand how you could disagree with that. That's why it's the top position in my portfolio and also Dr. Mike Berry's portfolio. But based on prevailing sentiment, the market, and popular culture, many think it's a foolish investment. But everyone's wrong! It's like the Big Short again. Or more like the Big Short Squeeze this time, right? Anyway, let me show you what we're seeing.
And the film's final titles, too optimistically posit, well, now Wall Street looks online for retail traders' opinions, which honestly isn't really anything. But I'd argue that the story is interesting without grappling with that. The sad truth is that these same forces coalesced around crypto just a few months later, which had an eerily similar pitch. In the end, Dumb Money is more of a funny and entertaining time capsule than anything. And for the moment, when the stonks are up, baby, they are up.
And as for me, I like the stock.
Big stuff for that.
And I don't plan on selling anytime soon.
Hold it.
Diamond hands, baby.
Attaboy.